Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3200 podcast.
Review show.
Hey, man. Today, man, this is one of my favorite shows that we do, man. The Church Hurt series, man. We're doing part four,
Three.
part three. Doing part three of Church Hurt, man. I always like talking about this, man. Like I said, the show is all about us and everything we grew up and everything we value. And this is one thing that we value that we don't like to hide, man. You know what I mean? We gotta talk about it, even though if we talk about the uncomfortable. So we want you to sit right there, join us. If you would, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and we will be right back after this.
Hey, the 3200, you know how we connect. 3200 Magnolia was the address. Beaumont, Texas, had to do it like that. Wanna welcome everybody to the podcast. Plenty stories that we gotta explore. From the views of husbands, fathers, entrepreneurs, baby fathers, and workers. I know this though for certain. You gon' laugh, have a good time till your side hurting. 3200, but you already know this. You know it. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Let's go. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 32 double O, let's go. 3200, but you already know this. You know it. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Let's go. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 32 double O, let's go. Hey, yeah, make sure that you turn it up. Get the talking, ain't no topic that we do not discuss. Yeah, everything and nothing at the same time. Good vibes, tune in, cause you know it's going down. 3200.
Man, look, see, Chris is in the video, man. Y'all keep teasing me about not adding him to the video yet, but Chris is in the video on the intro, man. Y'all didn't see him?
No.
Man, he's in there, man. He's in there. Like, we'll go back and watch it. Chris is on there, man. He's on there. Is he protesting me now? What's going on?
You got white face.
It's truth.
Oh, man, what's up, everybody? Welcome to 3200 Podcast, man. What's going on, Mr. Roy? What's going on, Mr. Roy? Oh, man, let's say Mr. Roy, and that'll bring me up to the little house cleaning, man. Here in Texas, man, it's voting for your local stuff going on right now. Here in Beaumont, we got city council, mayor, and some school board, man. And you know, it's not as sexy as all the other elections, but it's still an election, man. Make sure you go out and vote, man. Make sure you go out and vote. Like I said, Mr. Roy's running. They got a lot of other good people out there, just like Mr. Roy that's running. So make sure you go out there and vote. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, who you should vote for, but go out, do your research, man. There's some podcasts showing stuff. Make sure you get out and vote. And we got a guest here, man. We got Pastor T is with us again, man. How you doing? Like you're jogging.
Oh no, man. I'm I'm out here in LCM, man. These daughters keeping me busy, man. I didn't believe you when you said it's like throwing money out a window, but that's not.
Oh yeah.
I'm just throwing the car. But I'm
Good. Welcome to the show, man. We got Leo here. Leo, how you feeling?
Feel my age. I didn't realize today was Thursday, man. This week they went by so fast. Work, school, doing stuff in the house, you know, putting up chandeliers.
I see. What's going on? Then the church, we got Jonathan in. How you feeling, Jay?
I'm here, man. Yeah, another day.
And Chris, Bishop Chris, man, you got the glasses on and everything, man. How you feeling, Chris?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Still trying to get used to wearing these glasses on every day.
So, man, like I said before, man, this is one of my favorite series that we do within the show. Like I said, we talk about being husbands. We talk about being fathers. We talk about everything around us being men. and we don't want to leave out the church. And I think these conversations are great for us because we get to, it's not just, sometimes churchy tends to be polished, well polished and groomed. But I think we try to have honest conversations, and it's always good to have pastors on to have us, to clear up some of this stuff, to have some clarity, and also just to ask the questions and talk about the things that people are really saying and people are really talking about as soon as they walk out of the church. You know what I mean? So let's get into it, man. This show, Church Hurt, we're talking about division, man. We're talking about division within the church, man, and what keeps us divided. And I think Martin Luther King said it best. He said way back in 1963, which is just crazy, 40-something years, more than 40-something years ago, almost 60-something years ago, he said the most segregated place in America is the church pew, you know what I mean? And that still kind of holds fact in a lot of places, in the majority of places right here in the U.S. So I guess, why? I guess that'd be my first question is why? It's 2023. How did we get here? It'd be my first question. How did we get here?
I think we got here That's the easiest question to answer, from slavery, segregation and everything else like that. I think that was the whole thing that got them there, that started that. And I think people still holds on to some of those truths, It's like, hey, I'd rather go to the black church or I'd rather go to the white church. But I think slavery and segregation and things like that were the things that first started because, we couldn't enter into their church. So we had to have our own churches and stuff like that.
So I go back to the other question, like, why are we still there, man? That was years and years ago.
Yeah. I think I can't remember. I'm trying to wreck my brain to think of the Lecrae line, but he said in one of his songs, like, hey, they asked him something about, why is there disunity or something along those lines. He said something like, hey, man, you do the math or something. Then like that's beyond me. You gotta go. He spoke to like it was history. It was like what Leo just said, also with segregation and stuff. But man, why are we still here? I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of elements to that question. We could say, like sinful nature of humans is like a generic answer that we could say, and that would be true, just like human nature. But also I would say that like, Christianity in America is very closely tied to racism. It's been used throughout history to empower segregation and racism. And so, whether we can see the systems that is built in or how it's embedded, I think that's still a part of it today. I mean, like what do they call it? Like dog whistling. Like, when you hear people say, man, I believe in God, country, and guns or something, we know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just some other stuff that's built into that. So why I guess is human nature. I mean, this is not the only answer, but just right off back, I have two things: is human nature, and I think it's just embedded in the fabric of racism and division in America.
True. What you got, Jay?
Nah, you gotta say that with that woo! Country and gun, woo! But yeah, that's all it is. Faith Love, I had to think about her name. It's cultural differences. We're divided, inside and outside of the church with cultural differences. A lot of us don't want to learn about the other cultures because we've been taught that way, because we've already been with our families, to our friends, to who we hang around. We've already, hey, this group of people is this. This group of people does this. This group of people eat this. This group of people, we're already judging people before we even get to learn or know that person. So I feel like, we kind of it's kind of like a thing that just I mean it started with the history of America, division, and I don't know what I mean. I don't know what can really bring it together. I mean, the church is one of the things that can help, but I think it's just a mankind thing that can bring us together. I mean, to me, it's like from day one we've been divided and separated, like the animals going on the boat with Noah.
Yeah.
We've been distanced since then, and we just never we just haven't got it right yet. We just haven't got it right.
Yeah, and I tell you what was hard for me, Johnson, just on like what you were saying just now. Like it was good. Like we grew up in the church, and we grew up in a black church. It was a black church we grew up in, and it was good. And we've been around black churches like our whole life. And I think we would go. Our aunt in DeRidder, she goes to a predominantly white church, and we would go there and be uncomfortable and kind of laugh and joke around. Well, I would laugh and joke around the whole service. I was the bad one, but. Even growing up in the black church, I think even growing up like that was somewhat dangerous to me, because once I moved away from here and I ended up in Japan, and when I ended up in Utah, like it was so hard for me to go to church and be comfortable in church. You know what I mean? It was hard for me to find church, because every church I was going to was like, nah, this ain't like church I grew up in. Nah, they ain't doing. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, what are they singing? I don't like this song. You know what I'm saying? Well, did y'all have any difficulties like that?
Yeah, we get accustomed to familiarity. We get accustomed to what we're familiar with. So when we come to change, it's hard for us to transition to change. It was the same for me, but I think, like you said, with Ain't Ray Church, that brought a different light on things, and I wanted to see different things and experience different things. Until you open your eyes and want to experience those things, that division is going to stay there.
Mm-hmm. Do y'all ever think we will get past that? I think because
I think we will. First thing, I think most of the time people, what Mr. Roy said, two churches ain't church anymore. At least some churches. That's very true. I think one of the main things that used to divide us too is music.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like this song and this song, and truthfully, it was like you said earlier. If you only went to a black church, you didn't go to a white church, and you're like, oh, they sing songs differently and all this other stuff like that. Or you went to a white one, and it's like, oh, they don't sing it like we sing it and stuff like that. But I think nowadays those things are changing, because somebody sat in both these churches and realized, hey, the same song I'm singing over here, the same song over there, just with a different tempo. They both just got different tempos, but it's the same song. And so now with the internet and everything else that's out there, I think they are going to start mixing a little bit, although it's slow. I have to say it is slow. But I feel like they are going to start mixing everything, because a lot of these songs I hear on, I listen to Kirk Franklin on Sirius XM. A lot of these songs I hear that these people come out with, especially, oh man, I know y'all going to put the hate mail out. Tasha Cobb. A lot of songs I hear her sing, I'm like, that song was sang in the white church. She just, I knew you was going to do it. But I hear a lot. She's not the only one. There's quite a few of them that the songs that I hear them sing, it's the same song, and it makes me laugh a little bit inside. I'm like, oh man, that's the same song. Because the church we moved to San Antonio now, but the church that we went to in Shreveport, Louisiana, Word of God Ministries, is ran by a white preacher who it's a mixed church. And he says at the first part of the thing, he was like, I created this church because when I was young and was at a young age, he was filled with the Spirit. And so he was talking to this guy he went to school with, was a black kid, you know, and this kid wanted to get saved. So he brought the kid to his church on Sunday, and that's when he figured out, hey, you know, this kid can't be in his church, you know, and he really didn't like that. He didn't understand it. He didn't like it. So when he got old enough to move and which got out, he decided to make him a church that's a mixed church and everything else like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, some of the songs they be singing, Nisha be like, "Well, how you know that song?" I'm like, "Cause it's the song from here." You know, it's the same song they was singing. I remember one that I forgot what song it was. It was a dude that was singing it, and I was like, "Nisha, that's that same song." I'm like, "Just listen to it. Sit there and listen." She was like, "Oh my God, it is." But those things like that are walls that's being knocked down to whereas everybody is starting to sing it. So it's like you can go to this church and you do feel comfortable at this other church in another section of town. So I think it's gonna come there. It's just gonna take it. It's still kind of slow if you ask me.
Yeah. And kind of on that topic, T, I wanted to ask you a question there from the pastor's perspective there. Because Leon said it was a white pastor preaching a mixed church, and you see that like in some of the major cities. You don't see it much often down here, but you see it in some of the majority in the bigger cities and stuff. You see a mixed church, but the pastor 99% of the time there is a white pastor. Do white people want a black pastor?
You asking me that, Ike?
Yeah.
You gotta ask our Caucasian brothers and sisters that. Fair, man. To be fair, I did have my ancestry done, man. I'm like 2%, man. Like, Irish, man. I can post my DNA, but I mean historically, like I mean, we can look at down south, but to be fair with you, this is applied to anywhere geographically in the United States. If you see a mixed church, and then so I'll come back, I try to remember to double back and let's really define what mix is. But I'm trying to think right off the back. You got Michael Todd with Transformation Church, is probably a rarity. You've got Miles McPherson, the Rock Church in San Diego, who's a pretty diverse church. And let me add this caveat: they are black with black wives, also. So very, very rare. Maybe Herbert Cooper out of Oklahoma City as well, but he has a white wife, which is not a knock or anything. But again, I can't think of the pastor's name, but Celebration Church out in Jacksonville, Florida, pretty large church. He was just put in as a pastor. Very, very diverse church. He has a white wife. So here's a few caveats that you're going to see. Most of the time, to answer your question, you're not going to see that down south or up north, a lot of black pastor leading a diverse church, unless the pastor, for the most part, sometimes have a white wife, or he has some views like a Vonnie Baucham. He has a lot of views that are very inconsistent with the majority way that African Americans would, the way that they see life and the way that they interpret scripture. So no, you don't see it a lot again, but I who am I to speak on, if white people want to pastor? I think most of them would say it wouldn't matter as long as the person's preaching Christ. But that just hadn't been shown to be true. So you do see a lot of white pastors. And I went through that, to be honest, at a different stage of college. You see a lot of white pastors that lead diverse churches. I think we can look at a few local churches around here that people would consider to be diverse. They have white pastors, and I would even ask them to say, okay, can you point out to me how many African Americans they even have on staff, like paid staff, not volunteers, not lead volunteers. These mixed churches, diverse churches that are advertising that they're diverse. How like the people that are getting paid, what does the diversity look like? And in leadership roles, what does that look like? And so then I asked you guys earlier about, let's define diversity. Of course, we'd be like, I look in there and I see black and whites, I see Hispanics, I see whatever it is. To be fair to some churches, like a church can only reach the people or the pool that they're in. So let's not knock like a church that's invited because they don't have blacks in there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're only reaching the community that they have. So that's fair. But I do believe that the church should look like the community that it's in. That's the challenge, that wherever they're at, they should look like that. So a lot of churches that do say they have diversity aesthetic wise, when you look across the crowd, yes, you see like spots of, you've got some mocha latte, you got some cinnamon, you got some, you got some whatever different things in there. But do you just want as I've like talked to and been around church for a while, some churches want the aesthetics of diversity, but they don't want that. Sometimes they don't want to invite the cultures and the outlooks on life. Maybe even some of the political differences, outlooks that comes when you have different cultures, different upbringings. I think you're familiar with this, but I had a white pastor tell me one time, I'm not gonna lie, I was so offended that I was like, oh, come on, Lord, let me respond the right way. He was like, hey, what is up with you guys? Like, your culture doesn't like honor your parents very well. This was like a white pastor. I was like, we don't honor our culture. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we not shooting up schools. We not doing this stuff. Like, we are deathly afraid of our parents. But that was an interpretation he got. I was like, brother, let me tell you about the way that we see the way you guys parent. Like, there's things that y'all would do or say. Some of us are grown and we wouldn't say this stuff to our parents right now. And so that was just, some differences or lack of understanding of some different things. And I would say the dangerous thing about when a lot of black people are going to churches led by white pastors. Again, I know some great pastors. I don't think that they do some of these things instinctively, but you're supposed to be a shepherd. You're supposed to be a good steward of like God has entrusted you to teach these people the Bible, to care for them spiritually, to be there for them. And sometimes there's a lack of empathy because this backdrop of the culture that we're talking about in America, where like white America always think they know what's best for black America, or they disregard issues that we're stating or the way that we interpret things. And so it's kind of dangerous. I saw that over the last election cycle. I just thought, man, if this is the way you think or see, man, I really feel bad for some of the African Americans that are in your church. And do they know that you think this way? So, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, hopefully I kind of answer something in there.
Yeah, nah, you good, man. You good. I don't know. Mr. Roy says, he said, I don't know if it's the church, if it's more the mindset of some members. People tend to bring man's way into church. And I don't know. I had a question, but I'm gonna scratch. I think kind of answered that one there. Anybody else had any question on the race thing before we move on? I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to agree with T, because one of our uncles said something like that when I talked to him last time. He went to the church he went to was pretty much all white, and you know what uncle I'm talking about. He would do everything in the church, but they would not let him hold a spot in the board. They wouldn't let him. I guess every once in a while, the deacons or whatever, or certain people in the church would have like a little thing they would do. They wouldn't let him do it. Him and another guy, because they was black, and it was like that. He stayed. I wouldn't have stayed. But he wanted, and he finally, I think him and or either him or the other guy ended up preaching the lesson at that church or whatever. And I guess that was his way of trying to break down walls or whatever, break down barriers. But I don't know if I would have stayed in there knowing that. But
yeah, and that's one of the churches that that's one of the churches in Beaumont. That's a large church here that says they are a diverse church, but their staff is very low. It's probably even lower now, and I get real sensitive about the topic because how they treated my aunt and my uncle. When stuff start to turn in their health wise, Pastor still hasn't visited them, hadn't done anything. So I get real sensitive and pretty bitter about the whole situation. But that's that thing, to me, I want to because I don't have a better word to say, and I'm kind of upset about it. It's just that fake love, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, you're good as long as you're coming on Sunday, and then they start to miss Sundays, and they've missed 2-3 years, and can't get a phone call. No one's concerned. They're not involved in it. So I'll leave that alone and move on there. Yeah, because he's running for city. He's running for city council right now.
Nah, but that happens a lot. You know, that happens a lot at your big churches. You know, but they're supposed to have like a some type of board or some kind of type of committee. But when you have so many members, they get lost. I mean, if they're not active, you know, at the end of the day, they're not gonna see about everybody. But it ain't right. But
we talking about ones that he was active as he could be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I understand what you're saying. Like when, because you know, like I said, the church I went to in Shreveport, it would be considered a mega church. You know what I mean? And that's what I did like about it, was that I was lost in it, because you know, us growing up, church pretty much every day of the week, all the time, it kind of tolls on you, because even those times when you was tired and maybe you didn't want to be usher, we had to be usher. You know what I mean? What was usher? Sing, play the drums, anything. You know, it was the church.
Yeah.
You know, but the church needed us and everything else like that. So sometimes, you just want to sit and let somebody else sing, listen to somebody else singing, and listen to the word, you know, be a part of the crowd. So I understand that. I understand what you're saying, Jonathan, with in that instant, it's like, you know, it's just overwhelming, you know. But in the instant that Isaac is talking about, and I understand what Isaac sort of said, because he the God child, you know, you know, your uncle, you know what I mean? You know what he always worked in, you know, in the church, and did for the church for many, many years for that church. And you know,
well, what I'm saying is, it's not the church as much as it's the men who we grew up with in the church. So it's those other deacons, those people that were surrounding him, that was, you know, serving with him. Why y'all ain't calling? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it really boils down to.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
What you got,
I
T?
yeah.
What you got, T?
I would add to that, like, yeah, I think everybody's right. I would even, you know, so you hear this word thrown around in larger churches called systems, right? Like, okay, so we know the pastor is not gonna be able to be, you know, everywhere, reach everybody. That's fair. To be honest, he shouldn't want that, because you should want to push people to Christ, but you should want to distribute the responsibility of the church, because it's not T Church, it's not Ike's, it's not Chris's, it's not the church, it's not Leo's, but but the pastor does have a responsibility to create these systems, and he is supposed to, so we're using systems, like we can use these business terms interchangeably, but he's supposed to create deacons, or he's supposed to create committees. The most mega churches have something written in. We can go through and look in their like DNA or their mission points. They'll say, like, as we grow bigger, we grow smaller. Like, or we're not a large church. We're not, you know, they'll say all of these things to put emphasis on that we still got to give this intentionality to we still have, as large as this is, make this feel like a community, right? So like, so a pastor should have some type of follow-up, or he should have some pastor that is over, you know, where they can check on these members, because, you know, the scripture talks about how Jesus would leave the 99 to go after the one. So again, the goal is, like, yes, there's this contrast where we want to, like the Bible talks about, go to the highways and the byways and the freeways and encourage people to come to Christ. Like, yes, we want to throw our net as wide as it is, but Jesus still made it very clear that he would abandon 99 to go after that one. So we still have to have systems, and it's the pastor's responsibility to still ensure that there's a system or something in place where we can go after that one. So, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Let's move on, man. Let's move on to the next one there, man. And I could go on for this for a while there, but I want to move on to the other one because the other one is what's really that you're seeing more often now as the two different churches, and they're becoming even more separate here as of late. Be the modern church versus the traditional church. And that's what's kind of struck up this show topic here because I watched Praise This. And then I watched Pastor Todd. I watched his Easter program, and I seen the outrage and everything about that happened after that. And I was like, well, the modern day church and then the traditional church, man, how far off are they? Let's talk about them battles, man. T, is there a true separation there? Is there a in my eyes, sitting from where I'm sitting at, from my perspective, there's a true separation between the modern church and the traditional church, and the traditional church does not want anything modern around from what I'm seeing.
First of all, man, another guy that y'all have had on here before, Deborah Booker, man, I like to use y'all show. I hate to do this, man, but I like to use y'all show to tell him stop sending me, inboxing me crazy videos, man, with people talking about the church and stuff, man. 3200 would support me in getting Deborah Ram because he's the first one sent me a video with somebody doing a reaction video to Mike Todd's service. And so yeah, no, look, we could also attach this to there is still some racial and cultural components, but the beautiful thing about this is that this is like within every culture. So even within the Black church, we have this contrast of like the young and the traditional and modern way. Within the white church, they have some of this Hispanic church, all of these things, and then they cross over. But yeah, for sure, it's a huge difference. One of my first times being introduced, we were getting ready to start the church. And this concept that I had learned from these white pastors was like, hey, before you go into this town, you're like, hey, go to some of the local pastor meetings and things like that. You want to, you're trying to raise support. Because that's a whole nother thing. The way that Black churches are funded and the way that white churches are funded is a completely different thing. So we had this concept of planning a church. You go raise funds. You go to these other churches. So I went to this Golden Triangle Baptist, Black Baptist, something, I forget the exact name. And I go there, and I have on my little... it was probably some very tight blazer or something like that and jeans, and they put me on the thing to speak. So I go up there and I start talking to them, and I'm hitting them with all these statistics like, yo, this many people not going to church, and like we're losing this generation. And I mean, I thought I was killing it. And the guy gets up to the mic, is like, young man, first of all, when you stand before men of God, like we have here today, you need to acknowledge us men of God. I was like, brother, I thought I came. It was like, hey, thank you guys for having me. He's like, no, I wouldn't get nothing. Then he was like, went further along, God on his truth. He was like, and furthermore, a young man like yourself standing before men of our stature should be buckling at the knees. I was like, well, brother, I didn't know I was standing in front of Moses here. My bad. Jesus, what I'm saying? Like, my bad. I'm like, but did you not hear the part about your grandkids and your daughters are not in church like they used to be? Like, okay, yeah. So that was very frustrating right off back. I noticed it then, like they want to be acknowledged, certain things like that. And then people have called our church. People was like, yeah, man, y'all church is a sexy church. Y'all got the lights down and stuff. It's too romantic in there, man. Like, turn the lights up. Turn the lights up. I'm like, look, man, they got a fair point, that's fair, but they like, it's a sexy church. I'm like, well, we do it because we want people to feel like, hey, some people are not watching them, or this is an intimate moment, but I can see why this is a robot. They was like, I need to see my seat, like, so it's some practical stuff to it, some different. Some of it is just aesthetic. Some of it is worship style. People have told us like that, our church is kind of like, whitey, because we sing certain versions of songs, you know what I'm saying? And I will be honest, our attempt to do that was so that we could not appease, but so that we could, what's the word I'm looking for? Just try to reach multiple people. We're trying to throw that net wide. The style, like what you dress and how you wear. I wore a blazer this past Easter, and I had like a hoodie thing underneath it or whatever. But man, I don't know when the last time I wore slacks in the pulpit. In how many Sundays? I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't have a traditional podium or pulpit. I always emphasize it. Should maybe like stop when we go to a church. They like the pulpit, because I just think they watch how they put emphasis on the P and the T every time, man. But I mean, even other things, modern things, some traditional churches that limit the role of women. I think the Bible gives precedence for women being used by God in whatever capacity He would see fit. So just all kind of different things in there, right? You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot, the time of service. Some people who complain because our services are too quick. They're used to their services being longer. I'm like, man, we trying to beat the other people to Golden Cup World. I'm trying to do y'all a favor, and y'all telling me service is too short. You know what I'm saying? Okay, whatever, man. So, I mean, that's all kind of things. Though. I mean, what if y'all saw that would be? Maybe y'all could throw out some things, and I could kind of speak to it. But what have been some of the points of contention that y'all saw between modern and tradition?
I think what I've seen in past church and stuff like that is a modern day leader, but the people he have in leadership traditional. So it's in the same church, modern versus traditional. So you'll have, hey, you can't do this, but then you're looking at the person who's speaking, dressed like you. So you like, hold up. And everything is transitioning to modern. But you'll have those certain individuals. And I think that speaks on what Mr. Roy was talking about, just at the end of the day, it goes with the mindset of that person. And if they're willing to invite newness in, because I thought that's what we're supposed to be doing. Invite, newness, which is Christ Jesus in. So, it might not sound the same, it might not look the same, but as long as the message is truth, I think that's all that really matters to me. But that's what I've been seeing.
Yeah. I think the delivery of the message. I think that's the thing that people get caught up with Mike Todd on a lot. Some of these pastors is the delivery of it. Now I will say this: when I had a chance, right when Pastor Mike Todd took over, like he was maybe the pastor for a year. We were at a conference together in Dallas. Me and him personally went out and ate at the mall. My wife sent me the picture the other day. We took a picture together and everything. This is before he blew up. And how he's like all, if you watch him, he's like animated when he talks. He's doing all this. Like the dude was the exact same way, however many years ago that was in the mall. We was in Grapevine Mills.
That's like you count backwards.
And so he was the same exact way then. But I will say this, we can get caught up into some theology things. I think some people have some fair arguments on that. The truth be told, every person, if you listen to any of my messages, all of my messages, you probably got some legitimate questions about the way I interpret scripture. That's for everybody. I don't think anybody's ever going to get it right until we get there with Jesus. But most people have an issue with his delivery style. But I think it's the same way. I heard one guy put it like, look, man, I don't do this, but some of y'all go and spend $20 on Starbucks coffee. Our grandparents, you know what I'm saying, they just basically poured hot water on the coffee beans and drunk it, you know what I'm saying? But it's all coffee, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, however you're consuming coffee, however I'm consuming coffee, are we consuming the word of God? Are we consuming truth? But some people get caught on the delivery of it, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we got Pastor Booker. Pastor Booker, Johnny. He must have heard you call him out there, T.
Hey man, listen. I've been out here with track practice, man, and I'm sorry, y'all. I thought I was gonna find me some time to get on here a little earlier, but we've been out here, man. I'm trying to produce the next Jamaica track team. You feel what I'm saying?
Booker. Listen,
But
man, half of the guys on the 3200 podcast, man, now what they told they have agreed to actually stop sending uh random Facebook messages to me about certain.
hey, man, first of all, anything I give you is supposed to be funny, and if you laugh, then it works. You feel what I'm saying? So you all good. But anything that Pastor T might have said up until this point was probably a lie. So let me come in and clarify what's going on. No, I'm just
Nah. Hey,
I'm messing with y'all.
I want to get your perspective, Book, because you dealt with this with a little bit there. We were just talking about the division between modern church and traditional church. And I know you worked with a church. I know you were working with a church at one time where you're trying to introduce some modern stuff, like church hip hop and stuff. You're trying to introduce that. You got a little bit of fight back there. You want to kind of share that, and just then how was there? Share the story. Then I want to know kind of like how accepting to the modern stuff they were.
Can y'all say my fault, man? I forgot to hit my do not disturb, but yeah, my fault. Can y'all hear me? I'm good.
You good?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So a lot of the issue is that I kind of ran into was because for years people talked about how hip hop or holy hip hop, gospel, Christian rap, whatever you want to say, was still pretty much the devil's music. You know what I'm saying? And they wanted to compare any form of hip hop as just being bad. So it takes a lot of that, just getting them out of that tradition. So you had like the younger crowd, they kind of didn't know if they should accept it. You know what I'm saying? And then you had like the older crowd, they was like, they frowning at you because they like, they really rather hear some Marvin Gaye style stuff. But either way it go, that was pretty much the big fight about it, was just really allowing the young people to understand that it's okay. You know what I'm saying? And then as far as with the older people, just getting them to get out of their traditional mode. You know what I mean? Getting out of their traditional state. And I've always used as far as for me, is like Christian rap saved my life, is how I look at it. Like I honestly feel like I would have never kept going. I would have never found my place in the church. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like I would have been out of place. You know what I mean? But I had a brother, one of my close brothers, Brandon Abbott. He kind of introduced me to like Christian hip hop, The Truth and Ambassador and all them. And then that's kind of like how I was like, oh shoot, yeah, there is a place for somebody like me who want to, if Kurt Franklin and all them work for you on a regular, that's cool. But for me, it just didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't feel like that was who I was. So, but yeah, when you dealing with that, that's what it is. It's really just these people who, man, they just kind of stuck in what they believe in, stuck in their ways a little bit. And I think that just goes in a lot of different areas of church. I mean, you find churches who still don't even want to put, they don't want the technology. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to do stuff with TV screens and stuff. You know what I mean? They just like the traditional mic, tambourines, some drum sets, and go on about their business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hot.
You had something, Leo?
Huh?
Yeah. I have to agree, and it's funny to me that being in the church for so long, like us growing up in it, I look at this, like you said, the hip hop church, hip hop or whatever revolution. It's the same way these people acted when Kirk Franklin came out. I don't know if you remember. I can remember when Kirk Franklin came out. We had a district convention in Beaumont, and the other church that was like I was dating. I remember they musicians. We don't play that bebop stuff, and he was talking about Kirk Franklin. But what makes me laugh so hard was in his generation, it was the mighty Clouds of Joy. They had a fight behind that. Before that generation, it was whoever else. You know what I mean? It's what some people don't understand.
The Clark sisters.
The Clark sisters. The Staple Singers. So many. Stunt was playing in the club. Yeah, and that's good because you're getting people to listen to a music. What some people don't understand is gospel music used to be the music that R&B and these other people used to grab from, you know. So them listening to Stump in the Club, I don't mind. Maybe they got them to that church on Sunday. They listen to Stump Saturday night at the club, you know. Get them in there, get them in the seats, but the songs are there because of the songs. The song to me isn't there to get you to heaven. Isn't there to it's just to get you there, just to get you ready to receive the word. The word is where it's gonna be and everything else. But that this argument about music styles or whatever, y'all want to go back to the style that Jesus sang, then they wouldn't like that at all. They wouldn't like it at all, because that'd be more so what they do in like some of these Arab countries and stuff like that. It'd be more of that type of style. You know what I mean? And we ain't singing that.
Don't be talking about them quartets, Leo. You like the old boy was doing that.
People didn't want to hear that, but back in those days when those groups coming out, and it's funny how the generations, they have to act the same way when some of these things pop in, where they don't sit down and just listen to the lyrics and try to listen to what these people are bringing forth and what they're bringing inside their truths,
I'm not gonna lie, I was uncomfortable around a lot of quartets because I felt like it was like a sexual connection, man. I was like, hold up, are we we in the right place? Like, what's going on? People unbuttoning shirts, and I was like, man, this seems not right. But I was young.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is like I don't know if y'all heard the song by Bizzle when he did a remake of the what's that song that old girl had, I Love God, right? And it was one of the lyrics when he was talking about like, what fishing pole are you using? Like, and he made a statement. He said some of your favorite artists got it looking like Sodom and Gomorrah at the Stellars. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the point is, are you gonna judge me based upon the beat that I got playing in the background, or are you gonna judge me by my fruit? You know what I'm saying? And that's the one thing that I can honestly say, bro. I've been to certain concerts, man, and I've watched performers perform, and I've watched these cats who some people have questions about, and they honestly are drawing people to Christ, bro. And like, you have a true spiritual connection while you're there. I've seen Ty Trevitt, and Ty Trevitt, when I say he came out and did his thing, like, I'm talking about everybody went into worship mode. You know what I'm saying? I've been there. I've watched The Truth, bro, and The Truth literally have sermons at his concerts, bro. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's so many, if we stay boxed in all because somebody is doing something that we don't approve of or whatever, then we're going to always have issues, man, because this world is forever growing. You know what I mean? I remember Ambassador said something. He said, well, if that's the case, then we should all just go back to rocking sandals and robes. You know what I mean? And when we eat, we should only eat salmon and loaves. You get what I'm saying? Like, if that's the case, bro, there's a lot we need to just throw back over there. You know what I'm saying? You think that communion cracker is the original cracker? Heck no. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Matter of fact, when we do our communion next week, I'm using Ritz. So, you know what I mean?
They don't want them old school crackers, man. They don't want that smoke.
Booker, didn't you tell me you were trying to use MD 2022 for your communion juice? That book.
Hey, that is blasphemous. I'll strike you in the mouth. That is blasphemous.
There you go.
No.
Modern stuff, man. Go with this modern stuff. Hey, real quick, fellas, because I got to step back in here and throw some more of my money away real quick. But I think, and if y'all still on in about 15, 20 minutes, I'll hop back on. But I do think that's true, man. Like, we can look at different segments of, we're caught up on clothes, or we're looking at music style. You can even look at Bible, like which version of the Bible is the right version of the Bible we read. I always challenge people and tell them, like, yo, first of all, most people that make that argument would argue that King James is the version of the Bible we should be reading. I'm like, yo, well, historically, if you knew why King James came with the Bible, King James probably wouldn't even be reading the King James right now, because there's other interpretations. But nonetheless, the best interpretation of the Bible, hands down, is whatever version you're reading. I just want you reading the Bible. That's the goal. But I do think this, because I've like most people would probably say that we fit on the side of modern. but there's the biblical story with Abraham and Isaac when he was going to sacrifice him. And I don't know why I always pictured that version of the Bible like, okay, it's this little kid willingly, like, I mean, you know, not knowing what's going on, just following his dad up to this mountain to be sacrificed. But most scholars believe that he was like at least 18 to maybe even as early 30s or something like that. So he was well aware that they were going up there to make a sacrifice, and he was well aware that they didn't have no animal with them, and that so he was aware of kind of what was going on. But it's more so paints this picture of like the older generation partnering with the younger generation to still complete the will of God and both being willing to make these sacrifices. So I do find myself asking this question, like, okay, what things about like my grandparents' church and my mom's church or the churches that I grew up in do we still need to incorporate? You know what I mean? And I, like the Bible talks about, there's nothing new under the sun. So like a lot of things, like we call this small groups. Like we'd be like, yo, small groups. You know, small groups, and we'd make it seem like it was this really, really new thing. But yo, like I'm sure all of us can remember after church, like the older people used to get together, fried chicken. That was still a concept of them doing life together. It's you know, we just didn't have a cute name for it. You know what I'm saying? Like life groups or small groups or whatever different churches call it. So I do think one of my points there is just I do think that we should be asking the question and embracing what things from the older generation that we also need to be embracing, and you know, things like that.
Oh yeah, totally agree. With that. There, I think everybody should be embracing. Everybody, tradition should be embracing some more of the younger spirit, and like you said, the younger spirit should be embracing some of that. I think the dangers in churches that just refuse to modernize anything, and they're still singing. They sing the old hymns, you know what I mean, is if you look around, especially if you look around Bowman, and you see those churches that were once like strong churches when we were growing up, like you look at them now and they never tried to do anything modern. They never tried to change up anything. You don't have to change God, but you know, different things to change. You see those churches and all of them to me look like they're dying. It's like you look at the group, and the group is the people that's going to that church is 70 and above, you know what I mean? And the pastor is old, and everybody's old. It's like, well, once this pastor's gone,
literally are dying. They're
well,
old.
that's what I'm saying. But they're not attracting. Old. Yeah, they're not attracting the younger group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they literally are. They just old.
Yeah.
But yes, they do need to attract the young. You want to
attract the young.
You want to get the young in there to get things moving. What was the saying? I wish I could remember the saying about how I think it was Tupac who said something like that. Like for change, the older isn't the ones that make the change. The younger are the ones with the energy to do that, and the oldest to support them. So the old is there to support the young, you know, but you got to have these young people in the church. You got to breathe life in the church, you know. And that life to me is having the young ones there teaching them. You have your older ones there teaching, showing those traditions and stuff like that, but also the young generation, like you said, tacking up on those traditions, but doing it more in a modern way or whatever.
Yeah, you gotta talk in their voice. Like in Sunday school with the preschoolers, you're not out there, you bringing the Bible saying this, thee, thou, and all of that. You know what I mean? You're talking to them in their language. They understand, like, hey, Job had a robe. Job wore that robe. His brother stole the robe. You know what I mean? You're speaking to them in a language that they understand. It's the same thing. It's like, no, you're not saying that this is God or God is changing or whatever. You're saying that you're just speaking it in the language that they understand it.
I disagree, actually. I fall on that end. I think those young kids need to understand things in the old English. They don't know. That's how they don't know how to write in cursive now. Nah,
that's true.
So, listen, man, fellas, I enjoyed it. I think it's great. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing, man. I pop in from time to time. I got it on my thing to go back and watch a few weeks ago when y'all had my wives on, but love the content. And only 15 minutes, man. 15, 20, I'll hop back on. But thank you.
Hey, real quick, tell your church how we follow you in your church.
Oh, yeah. 519 Church.
Love the Lord half the time.
519 Church, man. 10:30 on Sundays. We actually, man, are going to be having church over at my aunt's this Sunday because we have some work being done at the church. But typically, man, 519 Church on YouTube, Facebook, and 4095 Bristol. 10:30 on Sunday mornings.
All right, appreciate it, Pastor T. Appreciate it, man. Again.
All right, man. Have a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much it's going from milk to meat. You know, you gotta start with the milk and then get to the meat. So just the talk to people where they're at. We're meeting people where they're at. If it's knowledge wise or conditional wise, whatever they may be doing, you know, what may be going on in their life, you know, you got to meet them where they're at. And that's what it's supposed to all be about, guidance. And that's what the young need, you know, the older, but we need good guidance. We need you know, you don't want bad guidance. And I feel like some parts we get bad guidance and then that steers people away from the church.
Yeah. Chris, Bishop, man, Bishop Chris, man, you've been kind of quiet there, bro. You've been kind of quiet there. You got anything to add?
No, I was gonna say whenever you'd asked about like the traditional and the modern church, TA pretty much said what I was gonna say. Like it could be the delivery method or even with the music. Like a lot of times, you know, with the older church, you know, you'll get your pastor in the stands or in the pulpit, and he'll bang the desk and get to yelling and God and all that other stuff, and I think that's what, you know, could be another issue. Just not in a more traditional style church, you know, like 519, like with Pastor T, or even like Mike Todd, you see them delivering a message in a different way. You know, they're not up there yelling and jumping around, you know, like you see some of the older pastors. But to me, like he said, as long as the message is being, you know, delivered right and in the truth, then I don't see an issue with it. You know, and I've been to church, and I mean, I still go to church, the traditional style church from time to time, and then, you know, the more modern. So I mean, I'm used to both versions of a message getting delivered. So as long as the word is getting preached the right way and it's about Christ and trying to lead people to Christ, then there's no issue.
All right. Real quick, man. I know we're supposed to be done here, but I got one more thing here. I'm gonna do. I'm using the old preacher line. I'm gonna be here just one more minute. I got one more point.
My eyes have seen the glory. Love lifted me.
Real quick. I don't want to leave this because we had 3 topics we wanted to talk about, man. That was race, modern versus the traditional, and then the last one, of course, was the politics church. And we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do want to talk about it because you're seeing politics infiltrate churches a lot more, where pastors are in the pulpit pretty much telling you who you need to vote for and who you need to support. So we'll kick it off, Pastor Booker, first there. If you're ready, you ready?
I mean, hey, I'm about as ready as I'm gonna be. Nah, I'm just it's interesting you brought that up. So last year I had a run in with somebody, and they were basically trying to convince me why, you know, as a Christian you should be voting Republican. You know what I'm saying? And you know, my whole, because he asked me like, hey, if somebody was to vote, how would you tell them to vote? So I told him straight up. I said, look, man, I feel like if you're gonna vote, you vote whatever is gonna be best suited, with whoever you think is gonna be best suited for what you got going on. You see what I'm saying? Because voting for a president or whatnot, you know, I mean, yeah, we can sit here and try to go back and forth. Well, this president is about this president about that. But at the end of the day, you can sit here and you can try to talk policies and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, you want to vote for somebody who's going to basically, that's the whole point. Like, we're voting for somebody who's going to benefit us. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is you got going on. So, like, for instance, the millionaire is most likely going to vote for somebody who's going to basically help them out more than, you know what I'm saying, somebody who, making, less than whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or working at McDonald's or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, no offense to McDonald's. I know some managers who make some good money. But my point is, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so trying to get somebody and telling somebody who to vote for, to me, is silliness. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, God is in control of everything. You know what I'm saying? If whoever he wants in office is who he gonna have in office. We can look at that even when you look back in the book of Judges. How many times do we see where, children of Israel, they were doing good, they were high, they was good, it was all up there, they're doing their thing, and then the Lord, it said that God turned them over to a different king and allowed this king to take over. It was God who allowed, and it could be any type of king. It could be, if we go back to Nebuchadnezzar and all them, like, these people were not taking over Israel all because of their disobedience. It had nothing to do with whether or not, this king was a better king. It had nothing to do whether or not this conqueror was better than what they had in place. It was simply to show you that, hey, I need you to rely on me. Forget everything else, put everything else to the side, rely on me. And I think that's how you're going to vote. Like, if you pray and you say that the Lord told you to vote for such and such, then, hey, well, so be it. But at the end of the day, man, like, check the policies out, find out who you think is going to put you in the best position for you and your family, and that's who you vote for. Because what I'm looking for is going to be different than what you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? I can't sit up here and tell you, oh, vote for Trump, vote for, Biden, vote for all these people if they don't fit your interest, dog. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, in my opinion, I feel like they all crooked anyway. Like, unless you plan on really voting for, like, I mean, to really do your due diligence and see, like, if you feel comfortable voting for somebody who you can say, okay, well, this person says that they believe in Christ, they believe in this and believe in that. But even with that, man, how many of us even disagree with some of the views of our own pastors? You get what I'm saying? Like, our own leaders, bro. Like, there's things I came up under a great man of God who I feel is a great, but I can't sit here and say I agree with everything he said. You feel what I'm saying? So you trying to get somebody to vote politically, you know what I'm saying, is, based upon religion or faith, is crazy. It to me is crazy. Allow people to do what they do, express how they feel, whatever. And then as long as we teaching them about Christ, that's what should be in the pulpit, is what you teaching about Christ. And then the love for Christ and what he talks about, his teachings and everything, then that's how you go about your voting. And if you feel like that's who that person, if that person best fits that description. But I would like to leave this part too. We were never meant to be subject to anybody else, period. If you go through the scriptures in Samuel, one of the issues, the reason why Israel got into the biggest issues that they were in, is because they were never supposed to have meant somebody leading them as a head leader, like a king or nothing. And that's all a president is. It's just a king who's been voted. He's been voted king for 4 years and then probably another 4 or whatever. But that was never the intention of God. Like, he always wanted his people to just follow his lead, and those who he had placed in spiritual, placed in a spiritual position to lead them and guide them, like Moses and Aaron and all of those. They were, when you look in Judges, that's what the judges were. They were supposed to be their guidance as far as spiritually. But the moment you start putting men in place and saying they rule over all of this, then that's when you have an issue anyway. So, I mean, that's just how I feel, I guess.
Yeah, true, man. You said a mouthful there, man. You said a mouthful. I think I totally agree with you, and it always makes me laugh when I hear if I hear one of the sides say, this side is the side of God because we think this, and I'm thinking, I say, well, the other side thinks this, and that still lines up with God. It's like both of y'all have things that lines up with God. Then y'all got a lot of stuff that don't line up, with God at all. But we've seen it a lot, especially last election. I think one of our cousins had to leave her church because the pastor just kept on preaching, hey, you have to vote for this guy, and this is why, and God wants this guy in position and stuff. And it's like, I'm not learning anything from there. So I think start to separate churches there, and it just got ugly. Anybody else got anything on that topic?
Wow. I think also to add to that is most people forget you gotta, the biggest vote too is also on policy. You're voting on policy and stuff like that, So although the person who you might feel like might not be the one in, you also got a voice in the vote on policy. and trying to get those people in that can help sway that vote and stuff like that. The system, most of the time, the system is to whereas everybody don't have all the power, you know. So you got to remember that it's like, okay, I lost this person right here, the mayor, but I may win voting in city council. But also, I just don't. It's kind of like Mr. Roy said. I don't believe politicians and Pastor Shaminga like that. I don't believe that should be something that's brought up in the church. If you have one person come in to the church who want to say they love political whatever to the church, you should have that other person come into the church and say whatever the political thing their side or whatever is. You have to be fair and balanced when it comes to that, but it shouldn't be, oh, we're going to support this. Unless, only way I can kind of see something like that is if this person is a part of your church, actually. You know what I mean? Then that's a different type of thing. You know what I mean? That's a part of your family. So you might be a little more partial to something like that. But if they're not a church member and everything else like that, because you see it all the time, it's the same thing. They hold the Bible backwards and they kiss the babies. You know what I mean? Where before they wasn't touching babies, and with the Bible being backwards, you know they ain't reading the word. But
They was grabbing, man. They was grabbing.
they kissing, they doing all the little stuff and everything else. Oh yeah, I'll be here. I'll fight for you, and you won't see him. So it's just like a book said. You know, vote for those people who have your back and have your best interests in mind. And then when they in there, you hold them to that. And that's I think for our community, that's a lot of what happens. We don't hold those people who we voted in to that. You know, you have to hold them in. You have to hold them to that when they get in.
Yeah.
Be up on them. Hey, you said you was going to do this. I want a dog park in Magnolia Park. That's what
And
I asked for.
not just our community. I add to that, not just our community, but also the church community too. Because
Yeah.
look how long promises of abortion was going on. You know, that was a huge promise for years, and that was the big Christian attraction. Like, we're going to end abortion, and it took, you know what I mean? It took a long time. So I was like, everybody's selling them a promise, and then they get in that seat, and then it doesn't happen. Like, these politicians sell the Christians things that they're going to do in it, and they never pan out. They never ever pan out. So, Jonathan, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as Leo, pretty much. But pastors and politicians, you know, both of those are personal things to me. You choosing what body of Christ you want to, you know, worship with, that's a personal thing. And politicians is the same thing. It's a personal thing. It should never cross. It should never come together or cross paths. I see it a lot. You know, a lot of these guys, every election, they're at these big churches, the mega churches, the black churches, the Hispanic churches, you know, trying to get those minority votes. And it's crazy because you don't see them until then. So my thing is, guys, stop playing peekaboo with the church and actually attend the church. You know, let's be real. If you're a Christian, you know, be there and just go to your church. You don't have to go to other people's churches. Just speak your truth when it's time for you to speak your truth. And to me, you know, when you do stuff like that, I just view you as fake, you know, because you just pop it in. You pop it in and pop it out, you know. So, you know, and I was gonna say the same thing with the kissing the babies and stuff like that. It's just a personal thing. We shouldn't be pushing politics in the church. We should be pushing what we come for: deliverance, salvation, you know, healing, Jesus, you know, and you know, and you artists, man, you can say Jesus in your song, man. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we got to go back to that with the music one of these. I guess that's going to be part 4. I already got another question, you know, but I'll say
the music one. I want to be on that music set.
Yeah, I want
definitely.
the next one I want music, And why are we having so many divorces in the church? That's what I want.
Oh, you
That's
can
what
step
I
on some toes.
Oh, we got
That's
some
in
time.
politics.
I can tell you about that one too. Let's go. We get that one.
You gonna
In the
say
future
Nah,
of pushing P politics in the church.
But nah, I did want to touch on something Isaac said real quick. You were talking about how we get to the point where pastors saying, "Well, God wants this person, and God wants this person in place." And then my question is, so what happens when that person isn't in position? Are you saying that God didn't have power to put them there? You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's why you got to really be careful about that type of food. It's like, the lady who was, what was she calling demons from Africa and all that stuff? I don't know what she was doing. That was he was doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, look, man, you got to be careful, man, because it also makes you look as though you don't understand the spiritual realm, or you know what I mean? Like when you put yourself in that type of position, it's like, okay, now I have to put in a question. Do you really have some type of connection with God that you've been claiming all of these years? You feel what I'm saying? So that's another big thing. I just wanted to put that out there for my ministers, elders, preachers, whatever. Be careful about saying what you saying, saying what God wants, especially when dealing with stuff like that, politics and all that.
Hey,
True.
Black. And my other topic for the next one gonna be: we never talk about the pastor's church hurt.
Yeah, that'd actually be a real good one. That'd actually be a real good one right there. That'd be a real good one there. We have to do that.
So that's 3 topics.
Yeah. I would have to agree with Book. Book said exactly like what I was thinking. Is just, you got to be so careful with that, because people's faith is so deep in whatever they believe in, man. And when you tie that into something that you shouldn't be necessarily have a lot of belief in or whatever, someone, like a politician, you tie that into that, or you tie that into leadership, you know what I mean? Like we shouldn't be doing that, man. If you're going to tie faith into anything and try to influence and convince anybody on joining any team, man, then it should be the Dallas Cowboys. I just want to say that because it's draft night.
No, sir. And to answer Mr. King, to answer Chad, he does attend the church. It's the Church of the Upside Down Bible.
Shout out to
You're
Chad.
saying Rikers
Hey,
Bible Hope Fuel Baptist Church, right? By
Hey, I will say this much though. The Texans are now officially my second team. Well, they drafted my boy CJ Stroud, number 2 overall, baby. Let's go.
I see he
yeah,
got
we still
drafted.
got to get a line to
Yeah.
protect you.
Yeah, so hey, look, so it's Browns, Texans, and Bears. You know what I mean? If they got a Buckeye on their squad, then we're gonna rock with them. But
Look, I talked to God before the podcast here, man. He told me the Cowboys were the
all right.
Acting a fool.
But yeah,
Hey, man, Book, real quick, man. We appreciate you coming on again, man. You and Pastor T, man. Always good to see y'all side. I don't think a lot of I don't think a lot of us see, the ins and outs and what happens in the background and what y'all deal with.
hey,
And what y'all deal with, man. So what'd you say,
sorry.
Book?
I'm laughing at this dude just popped back in here, man. Hey,
Hey,
we having a good time. You come over here and interrupt it, man.
I just want y'all to know, brothers, God is good. Brothers, that the Houston Texans, brother, just like Jesus rose back up on the 3rd day.
Oh, here you go.
The Houston Texans is on their way back up, brother.
Oh yeah, CJ Stroud. I just told him that, bro.
Yeah, he from Beaumont, but yeah, that's
Hey, no, but Sylvie got some little dude out there, though, bro. He got like mad offers coming out. But anyway, that's another show, man. I guess, man.
Real quick, T. I'll let you jump in on this too. I'm interested in your perspective, and then we'll end the show, Leo. I know Leo. You giving me that look.
Hey, man, I'm just going to go to sleep on it. You know my business. I'm the old man in the group.
Yeah, T, we were talking about divisions in the church with politics, man, and politics role in the church. Just interested in you on what your thought is on politics dividing the church.
Yeah, I think Man, yeah, I mean, politics is done. I want to say politics has done it, but the truth be told, was always there. That's what this season revealed to me. Like, we wanted to blame it on politics, you know what I'm saying? But the truth is, this is the way that some people have always felt. You know what I'm saying? It's just easier for us to point to politics. It's currently politics right now. But yeah, I mean, politics did make a lot of it evident. You have, the church belongs to Jesus Christ. It doesn't belong to any political party. But you're gonna see political parties try to make it like it's their own. You know what I'm saying? That you're not a real Christian. I hear people say this all the time. Matter of fact, Ed Young from Fellowship Church in Dallas, he's doing a series. Well, he's been doing this series. Like, he just revamps it each year, like each so many years. But he did a message called "What Would Jesus Say to Donald Trump?" And now weeks before that, people on his post was like praising him, like he's the best president ever. He's a godsend. He's the most godliest president ever. Which I'm like, what part of this guy's life I'm missing? I don't know. Like, if you like him, you like him, brother. But you don't gotta, like, as I think as Mike Pence once said, you're entitled to your opinion, but not the facts. So anyway, they're going in and on the guy, and then 2 weeks later, he plays the clip of the message that he actually said. And I know for a fact that that this particular pastor is a Donald Trump guy. Like, he's went there. I know he's a fan or whatever you want to say of Donald Trump. But he was just saying some things from a biblical perspective. And you should have seen how quick it's time for me to leave this page. Oh, it's time for me, Fellowship. I mean, they start bashing him. The same people that were praising him just a week before because they thought that he was going to say something glowingly about Donald Trump. Now they are, ready to leave his page. They've had enough. So politics in and of itself has done a job. It also pulls off this, I don't even want to say a scab, but it just rubs his finger deeper into the racial wound that we have as a country. And I would like to say this, because earlier I kind of referenced to it that when I was in college, I grew up in a black church my whole life. Then when I went to college for a little bit, we started attending the white church. And part of me kind of had this idea. I didn't verbally ever say this, but I kind of said it's like, yo, man, white is right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we started going to this white church and we're like, oh, man, look, man. Oh, man, they're teaching the Bible, man. Like, look at the facilities, look at the children's programs, look at all of these things, right? And then you got things like election time or just different things going on where you realize, like, again, the aesthetic in the room is one way, you know what I'm saying? But the culture and opening and diversity is not really there. But we've got to be careful about that because historically the black church, I could argue that historically the black church has been on the right side of theology and the Bible more than the white church. But anytime the white church would make us feel that we don't know certain things, or we're not interpreting politics the right way, or our grandparents who made, by and large, African Americans coming up through the 80s and 90s associated with Democrats, like they would make us think that our grandparents or our family members were less than, or that they were unintelligent, and they lack work ethic, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and they're not trying to get an understanding of why they did what they did. We may not even land the same places that some of our grandparents did, but we're not coming to the conclusion that they were lazy or that they lack understanding or that they're not educated about certain things or lack work ethic. So yeah, man, politics does a lot of damage, but the church already has a lot of division there. And this is nothing new from the Bible. Peter, who was one of the guys that God used, Peter cut people ear off. Same guy, Peter, leading thousands of people to Christ. Same dude, you keep reading further on, he was in there practicing racism later. I think it's in Galatians, you know what I'm saying? Like when the other Jews came down, all of a sudden he stopped eating with the people. He graduated from the prestigious Clifton J. Ozan. When other Ozan people came around, he started distancing himself away from the central people, you know what I'm saying? But he was there to witness to them, to be a mission to the central people. All that, he did that in scripture. So it's been there in scripture. It's just, I think, man, we can't justify, and that's some of the things with blacks too. I think Booker, Ike, Chris, y'all may have been around for this conversation, but one time outside of the church, I'm not gonna say her name, but somebody looked at me flat out in my eyes and was like, yo, black people can't be racist. I was like, yes, the heck we can. And a few other people agreed, like, no, we can't. I was like, bro, yes, we can be racist. So we had this whole thing. So blacks can't justify it. Whites can't justify it. Hispanics can't justify it. People, whatever, mixed, whatever it is, we can't justify it. Christ wants us to love everybody, but hey, the sad reality is it is in the church.
True. Let me tell you, Peter would have went to Ozan, but Jesus would have went to Central High.
Yes, Lord.
First of all, I'm quite sure that Jesus Christ was born in Columbus, Ohio. So if you follow the word of God,
He was in the desert in Ohio because there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
He was in Ohio.
Hey man, this is great, man. This is a great conversation, man. Like I said, I always love the church hurts, man, and then getting you two on here again, man, is just good. Just having a conversation, man, and getting that out there. I don't have any closing words. Anybody had any closing words?
Hey, guys, keep me in prayer. Keep me in prayer, man. I'm entering in the transfer portal for my NFL team, and man, I just pray God leads me and guides me in the right place, man.
Hey, we'll welcome you to Atlanta, man. We just gotta beat John Robinson. Come on.
He's gonna take care of the whole team now.
Oh man. Hey, thanks again. Real quick, pastors, could you just I hate to say plug your churches, but plug your churches real quick.
What book at? I'll go real quick, man. I think Ebony's post earlier, man. Tell her we will be playing Stump this Sunday, man. We will be but yeah, 10:30 on Sunday. It's 519 Church, 4095 Bristol. I think it's 1420 Calder is where we're going to be this Sunday over at my aunt's church. And but yeah, man, thank you guys for having me, man.
All right, appreciate it. Book. If we want to follow you, we want to come visit your church there. How do we do that? Y'all, you're getting some sound issues there, Pastor Booker.
Yeah, man, you need to take some of the tithe money, man. Get a headphones out of this, man. Every week, every time I talk to you, your headphones, man. The Lord's not pleased. Go get you some headphones, man. He's still over there, man.
All right, Book having some issues with his sound, man. We're gonna
Get your sound engineer. Come on. Stop being traditional.
Hey, we'll drop it in the comments for him, man. But if you follow him on at Delbert Booker on Facebook, man. Hey, man, we appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all again for coming on the show. Everybody, thank y'all for lighting up the comment box, man. Appreciate y'all taking your time to watch. Hey, if you need prayer, if you want to, if you need some prayer, you need some help going find a church home, reach us in the comment box or reach us in the thing, man. We'll tell you how to reach Pastor Tyron and Pastor Booker. And we'll pray for you, man. Like I said, we talk about everything. We get filled up with everything else, man. But I think it's always good to have these conversations. Again, thank y'all for watching this show. We'll see you next time here on the 3200.
Peace.
Appreciate it, Chad.
3200, but you already know this. You know it. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Let's go. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 32